Reading passes 2. You should spend about 20 minutes on questions 14 to 26, which are based on reading passes 2 below. Silbo Gomero. The whistle the whistle language of the Canary Islands. La Gomera is one of the Canary Islands situated in the Atlantic Ocean off the northwest coast of Africa. This small volcanic island is mountainous with steep rocky slopes and deep wooded ravines rising to 1,487 meters at its highest peak. It is also home to the best known of the world's whistle languages, a means of transmitting information over long distances, which is perfectly adapted to the extreme terrain of the island. This language, known as Silbo or Silbo Gomero, from the Spanish word for whistle, is now shedding light on the language processing abilities of the human brain, according to scientists. Researchers say that the Silbo activates parts of the brain normally associated with spoken language, suggesting that the brain is remarkably flexible in its ability to interpret sounds as language. Science has developed the idea of brain areas that are dedicated to language and are starting to understand the scope of signals that can be recognized as language, says David Cornea, co-author of a recent study and associate professor of psychology at the University of Washington in Seattle. Silbo is substitute for Spanish, with individual words recorded into whistles which have high and low frequency notes tones. A whistler or celebrator puts a finger in his or her mouth to increase the whistle's pitch, while the other hand can be cupped to adjust the direction of the sound. There is much more ambiguity in the whistled signal than in the spoken signal, explains the leader researcher. Manuel Carreras, psychology professor at the University of La Laguna on the Canary Island of Tenerife, because whistled words can be hard to distinguish, syllabadors rely on repetition as well as awareness of context to make themselves understood. The syllabadors of Gomera are traditionally shepherds and other isolated mountain folk, and their novel means of staying in touch allows them to communicate over distances of up to 10 kilometers. Carreras explains that syllabadors are able to pass surprising amount of information via their whistles. In daily life, they use whistles to communicate short commands, but any Spanish sentence could be whistled. Silbo has proved particularly useful when fires have occurred on the island, and rapid communication across large areas has been vital. The study team has used neuroimaging equipment to contrast the brain activity of celebrities while listening to whistled and spoken Spanish. Results showed the left temporal lobe of the brain, which is usually associated with spoken language, was engaged during the processing of syllable. The researchers found that other key regions in the brain's frontal lobe also responded to the whistles, including those activated in response to sign language among deaf people. When the experiments were repeated with non-whistlers, however, activation was observed in all areas of the brain. Our results provide more evidence about the flexibility of the human capacity for language in a variety of forms, Cornea says. These data suggest that left hemisphere language regions are uniquely adapted for communicative purposes, independent of the modality of signal. The non-syllable speakers were not recognizing syllable as language. They had nothing to grab onto, so multiple areas of their brains were activated. Carreras says that the origins of Silvo Gomero remain obscure, but that indigenous Canary Islands, who were of North African region, already had a whistled language when Spain conquered the volcanic island in the 15th century. Whistled languages survive today in Papua New Guinea, Mexico, Vietnam, Guyana, China, Nepal, Senegal, and a few mountainous pockets in southern Europe. There are thought to be as many as 70 whistled languages still in use, though only 12 have been described and situated scientifically. And this form of communication is an adaptation found among cultures where people are often isolated from each other, according to Julien Mayer, a researcher at the Institute of Human Science in Lyon, France. They are mostly used in mountains or dense forests, he says. Whistled languages are quite clearly defined and represent an original adaptation of the spoken language for the needs of isolated human groups. But with modern communication technology now widely available, researchers say whistled languages like Silbo are threatened with extinction, with dwindling numbers of Gomera Islanders still fluent in language. Carreras, Canaries authorities are taking steps to try to ensure its survival. Since 1999, Silbo Gomero has been taught in all of the island's elementary schools. In addition, locals are seeking assistance from the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. The local authorities are trying to get an award from the organization to declare Silbo Gomero as something that should be preserved for humanity, Carreras adds. Questions 14 to 19. Do the following statements agree with the information given in a reading passage 2? In boxes 14 to 19 on your answer sheet, write 2 if the statement agrees with the information, false if the statement contradicts the information, not given if there is no information on this. La Gomera is the most mountainous of all the Canary Islands, not given. Silbo is only appropriate for short and simple messages, false. In the brain activity study, Silbados and non-whistlers produced different results, true. The Spanish introduced silver into the islands in the 15th century, false. There is precise data available regarding all of the whistle languages in existence today, false. The children of Gomera now learn silver, not given. Questions 20 to 26. Complete the notes below and choose one word only from the passage for each answer. Write your answer in boxes 20 to 26 on your answer sheet. Silbo Gomero. How silbo is produced. High and low frequency tones represent different sounds in Spanish words. Pitch of a whistle is controlled using Salvador's finger. Direction is changed with a cupped hand. How silbo is used has long been used by shepherds and people living in secluded locations. In everyday use of the transmission of the brief commands can relay essential information quickly, for example, to inform people about fires. For the future of silver, future under threat because of new technology. Canaries authorities are hoping to receive a UNESCO award to help preserve it.